This meeting is being recorded.
Good morning. The Regional Flood Control District Board of Directors meeting will begin shortly. Mr. Chairman, staff is ready to begin the Regional Flood Control District Board of Directors meeting.
This is Larry Brown. We'll call the meeting to order and turn it over to Mr. Parrish.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Thank you all for calling this morning. I know this is challenging, but we appreciate you working with us to get this done. I really want to start by thanking my own staff as well as RTC staff for setting all of this up. They did a great job with the logistics and getting you all where you needed to be calling in, so thank you to them. I'm going to start with some housekeeping items. As we go through the agenda, we would request that any of the board members that wish to make a comment, ask a question, or make a motion that you say your name when you do that so we can get a good record of the meeting. We will be opening the floor for questions after presenting each item if you have any questions. Also, after a motion is made and Chairman Brown calls for a vote, staff is going to call each member individually for your vote in alphabetical order so we can make sure we get an accurate record of the vote. This meeting was properly posted and noticed in accordance with the Declaration of Emergency Directive 006 issued by Governor Sisolak on March 22nd, 2020. This directive suspends the requirement contained in NRS for a physical location to be provided to public bodies. Pursuant to that directive, a physical location has not been provided for this meeting, and a live stream is available at www.ccrfcd.org/stream.htm. An email address was provided in the notice of public meeting. That email address is publiccomment@regionalflood.org to allow the public to participate in this meeting. Okay. This email address will be monitored during the meeting should any member of the public wish to participate in the final public comment period. Any comments received prior to or during the meeting will be read into the record and will become part of the permanent record. With that, we'll begin with a voice roll call vote to verify the board members present. Deanna, could you read through the roll, please?
Councilman Anthony.
Here.
Councilman Barone.
Here.
Chairman Brown. Chairman Brown.
Here.
Councilman Galt.
Here.
Commissioner Gibson. Commissioner Gibson.
Here.
Mayor Goodman.
Here.
Vice Chair Mart.
Here.
Mayor McManus.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have 8 members present, which we do have a quorum. Item number 1. Just 1 second, please. Item number 1 is comments by the general public. As noticed on the agenda posting, comments by the general public regarding items on this agenda were submitted to public comment at regionalflood.org. Deanna, please read into the record any public comments received, including name and address.
We have received comments from the public.
Thank you. Item number 2 is action to approve the agenda with the deletion of any items. Mr. Chairman, the agenda is in order for approval.
I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Mayor March.
Councilman Anthony. Councilman Anthony, vote please.
Yes.
Councilman Barone,
Yes.
Chairman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Galt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibson, Commissioner Gibson,
Are you not, tell me if you can hear my voice. Are you not hearing me at all?
yes, we are.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Thank you.
My vote is yes.
Thank you. Mayor Goodman, Mayor Goodman, Vice Chair March,
Aye.
Mayor McManus,
Aye.
Mayor Goodman,
Yes. Aye.
Great.
thank you. There's been 8 ayes.
Okay. Item number 3, discussion and possible action to reschedule the May 14, 2020 board meeting or take action as deemed appropriate. Mr. Chair, as is typical in the month of May, RTC will be rescheduling their May meeting to comply with the NRS regarding the timing of their public hearing for their budget. As such, staff would recommend rescheduling our May 14, 2020 meeting to May 21st, 2020 to match the date of RTC's meeting, and that meeting be held at 8:30.
Chairman Brown, that would be my motion. This is Mayor March.
Councilman Anthony, vote please.
Yes.
Councilman Barone, vote please.
Yes.
Chairman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Galt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibson,
Aye.
Mayor Goodman,
Aye.
Vice Chair March,
Aye.
Mayor McManus. Mayor McManus, vote please.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 8 ayes.
Part 2 of your agenda is the consent agenda. These are items 4 through 10 and are considered to be routine and may be acted upon in one motion if the board so desires.
Consent agenda.
I have a motion.
Councilman Anthony, vote please.
Yes.
Councilman Barone, Councilman Barone, vote please.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm waiting for the beep, whatever, but yes, if you can hear me.
Chairman Brown, Chairman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Galt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibson,
Yes.
Mayor Goodman,
Yes.
Vice Chair March,
Yes.
Mayor McManus.
Aye.
That's 8 ayes. Thank you.
Part 3 of your agenda is discussion items. Item 11 is Duck Creek Haven Street Storm Drain, Clark County. Item 11A is action to accept the project presentation. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Andrew Trelease, our district's Assistant General Manager, will be presenting this project on behalf of the county. We do have representatives from regional flood staff, as well as Clark County Public Works and Atkins Engineering on the call to respond to any questions following the presentation. And with that, I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Trelease.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. My name is Andrew Trelease. I'm here to present the Duck Creek Haven Street Storm Drain Project on behalf of Clark County Public Works. The project was designed by Atkins North America and is intended to be funded entirely by the Clark County Regional Flood Control District. The project location is in the south part of the valley, south of McCarran Airport and east of Las Vegas Boulevard. On the next slide, you can see the specific location of the project is a storm drain which connects to an existing storm drain in Haven Street just north of Pyle Avenue and extends south to Cactus Avenue. Project will consist of a reinforced concrete box culvert and some minor asphalt improvements in Haven Street. Project cost, design engineering, $354,000. Construction is estimated to be $4.69 million. Construction management expected to be $380,000, and the entity construction labor costs are expected to be $42,000 for a total project cost of $5.47 million. The design documents, including plans and specs, are 90% complete. All right-of-way and easements have been obtained for this project. All necessary state, local, and federal permits, including environmental permits and approvals, have been obtained. If funding were made available today, the project is expected to award in August of 2020, start construction in December of 2020, and with a 4-month construction duration should wrap up around March of 2021. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
If there are no questions, staff would recommend you accept the project presentation.
This is Mayor March. I'll make a motion to accept the project presentation.
Councilman Anthony, vote please.
Yes.
Councilman Barone.
Yes.
Chairman Brown.
Yes.
Councilman Galt.
Yes.
Commissioner Gibson.
Yes.
Mayor Goodman.
Aye.
Vice Chair March.
Yes.
Mayor McManus.
Aye.
That's 8 ayes. Thank you.
Item 11B is action to approve and authorize the chair to sign the interlocal contract for construction. This is an interlocal contract in the amount of $5,116,417 for construction management, and entity labor costs.
Mr. Chair, or Chairman Brown, that'll be my motion.
Councilman Anthony, vote please.
Yes.
Councilman Barone.
Yes.
Chairman Brown.
Yes.
Councilman Galt.
Yes.
Commissioner Gibson.
Yes.
Mayor Goodman.
Aye.
Vice Chair March.
Aye.
Mayor McManus.
Aye.
That is 8 ayes. Thank you.
Item 12 is action to approve the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget and authorize the general manager to request the Clark County Chief Financial Officer to submit the budget to the state on behalf of the district or take action as deemed appropriate. Mr. Chair, we do have a budget presentation prepared, and Ms. Jessica Butte will present that to the board. Jessica?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I am pleased to present the district's proposed budget for fiscal year 2021. The agenda backup includes detailed information that supports the budget. We would like to point out the extent of the economic impacts of COVID-19 in Southern Nevada are unknown at this time, and we expect to see volatility in the months to come. While this will likely affect our revenue and budget in the foreseeable future, we will continue to monitor the dynamics and adjust accordingly. Over the past few weeks, we have met with our financial advisors several times and expect ongoing communication to help examine this fluid situation. Slide 2 shows the district's budget and includes funds that address operations, maintenance, debt, and capital projects. The tentative budget is expected to be filed with the Nevada Department of Taxation prior to April 15th, and a final budget will be filed on or before June 1st. As in the past, the budget will be submitted to the state with Clark County budget submittal. As part of the budget process, historical analysis of sales tax is done by the district to estimate future revenues. The chart on slide 3 shows sales tax revenue received from nearly inception to date. Southern Nevada's economy through December of 2019 included strong employment and population growth, robust consumer spending, increased personal income, and high taxable sales. Slide 4 provides a more detailed view of sales tax, focusing on fiscal year 2018 and forward. If you're looking at the printed handouts, this slide was slightly modified and now shows the original budget as well. The red bars represents actual sales tax revenue for fiscal year 2018 and 2019. The green bars represents our original budget for fiscal year 2020, as well as our projected sales tax for fiscal year 2020 and 2021. The district used a sensible approach to estimate sales tax revenues for the remainder of this year and into next year. Since sales tax is the district's primary source of revenue, we are mindful that adverse changes in the economy will impact tax receipts. As shown in this chart for fiscal year 2020, we project sales tax revenues at $101.3 million. This is an anticipated decrease of 8.7% from the original budgeted amount of $111.9 million. We anticipate in the next few months the local economy will start to recover from the effects of the COVID-19 shutdowns. As a result, we expect sales tax at $104.4 million, which is still a decrease of nearly 7% from the fiscal year 2020 budget. Slide 5 shows an overview of resources. In fiscal year 2020, district resources are estimated to total $195 million, as shown in the pie chart. As this illustration shows on slide 6, the largest share is the district's primary funding source. This is 1/4% of Clark County sales tax. As I previously mentioned, sales tax revenues are projected to be $104.4 million. Slide 7 shows additional budgeted resources, includes a proposed issuance of $85 million in bonds to expedite the construction of flood control projects. In fiscal year 2019, we obtained approval for up to $200 million in bond authority, of which only $115 million was used, leaving $85 million of remaining authority. The final component of the $195 million of projected resources is other revenue shown on slide 8. This is comprised primarily of interest earnings and is budgeted at $5.6 million. Slide 9 shows an overview of expenditures. In fiscal year 2021, we are requesting expenditure authority of $440 million for all district funds. As shown on slide 10, these expenditures include pay-as-you-go projects, which are funded directly from sales tax revenues and represent 38% or $169.3 million. Displayed on slide 11, bond projects are budgeted at $189.6 million or 43% of expenditures. This request includes the additional $85 million in programmed bond proceeds. Slide 12 illustrates combined pay-as-you-go and bond funding expenditures total 82% of district expenditures at $359 million. Later in the presentation, I will discuss capital project expenditures in more detail. Now, continuing on to slide 13, with the district's total expenditures. Debt service includes principal, interest, and other payments relating to our 5 outstanding bonds and programmed new debt. We are requesting debt service expenditure authority in the amount of $55.3 million to meet debt obligations. We will also continue to work with our financial advisors to monitor refunding opportunities for debt service savings on our existing outstanding obligations. For our annual maintenance work program on slide 14, 4% of our expenditures are being requested. This program is designed to ensure that flood control facilities in the master plan are maintained in a manner that maximizes their useful life and ensures their operation at design capacity during a storm event. We are requesting budget authority in the amount of $16 million to provide funding for flood control maintenance. As shown on slide 15, while nearly 98% of our expenditures are dedicated to flood control infrastructure, only 2% is programmed for operations, which accounts for salaries, benefits, professional services, services and supplies, and operating capital. We are requesting operating authority in the amount of $9.8 million. These 5 components make up the $440 million in total expenditures. Slide 16 further illustrates district operations. It shows a relationship between sales tax revenue, operating expenditures, and the number of full-time employees from fiscal year 2010 through 2019, including a projected view for fiscal years 2020 and 2021. The red bar and blue bars represent sales tax revenue. The addition of the red bar is also a slight modification from the printed handouts and shows our original budget. The gray bars at the bottom of the chart represent district operating expenditures, and the white line represents the number of full-time equivalent employees. Operating expenditures are proposed to remain less than 10% of sales tax revenue, as they have throughout the district's history. Additionally, although it's not reflected in this chart, we currently have 4 vacant full-time equivalent positions. We intend to postpone refilling these positions to take advantage of the vacancy savings. To keep operating expenditures as low as possible, we have also identified some cost-saving measures we will implement, such as delaying our asset management project and stormwater pilot project, as well as several others, until the impacts on sales tax revenues are known. Slide 17 shows an overview of project expenditures. As I mentioned earlier, approximately $359 million is budgeted for ongoing and future flood control projects. This is by far the largest share of our total budgeted expenditures. Displayed on slide 18, ongoing project commitments for open interlocal contracts are budgeted at $183.2 million. Future projects are presented on slide 19 and are budgeted at nearly $176 million, which includes pay-as-you-go resources directly from sales tax revenues, new bond proceeds, and up to $1.2 million for new local drainage projects. Now moving on to slide 20. Flood control projects continue to be designed and constructed throughout Clark County. Ongoing projects include 38 design projects and 9 construction projects. Including items on this agenda, funded open interlocal contracts total $480 million. By the end of the current fiscal year, approximately $297 million will be spent on those ongoing projects, and there will be $183 million remaining to pay. Since these funds have already been encumbered, the downturn will not affect our ability to complete these projects. If we are able to complete these ongoing projects in fiscal year 2020, we estimate an economic benefit for our community of nearly 2,200 jobs will be created or sustained. Future projects will be specifically identified and prioritized in the 10-year construction program, which is scheduled to be presented to the board in June. Slide 21 provides a summary of the district's proposed budget. The budget before you today, if approved, will give the district expenditure authority totaling $440 million. Additional details are in your backup. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Jessica. Oops. Thank you, Jessica. Mr. Chair, just to follow up on the presentation, we do recognize that the estimate for sales tax revenue in the next fiscal year is probably optimistic given the rapidly changing economic conditions we're experiencing. This assumption is used to develop that estimate is that the downturn will be relatively short in duration and revenues will begin to recover towards the end of the fiscal year. This was done so the district will have the authority to expend those funds should they become available to continue funding new projects. If, however, the recovery is not quick and resources are lower, we do have flexibility in our program and tools available to us to be able to adjust expenditures based on those lower resources. Our largest expenditure in the budget is for capital improvement projects. We can meter funding for new construction projects to help us weather this downturn. So in summary, this budget as presented gives us the authority to expend funds should we receive them, but we have the flexibility in our program to adjust expenditures as needed should resources be lower than presented in this budget. And with that, we'll open the floor to any questions you may have.
Comments or questions from the board?
I think, Chairman, this is Mayor March. We recognize, because we're dealing with the same challenges in each of our municipalities, we recognize the challenges ahead, and of course, we'll work closely with the Flood Control District to address their concerns as we go along.
Goodman has questions.
Mayor Goodman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you please explain to me or to us, but I don't understand, where are the resources for the pay-as-you-go resources? What specifically are those?
Those come directly from sales tax revenues. Some of them are already sitting in our fund balance, and a lot of the projects we have are already encumbered. So just the new future projects are the ones that pay-as-you-go or bond funding that those will account for. But pay-as-you-go funding is directly from sales tax revenue.
Okay, so obviously, if I may continue, Mr. Chairman, those are obviously very variable, volatile, which leads me to my second question. Do we have, or is there in place, some reserve for recurrence of what we're living through right now? And if, in fact, there is a halt mid-project, that we have a funding reserve set aside to complete the project? Because
Mayor Goodman, every project that's under construction right now, when the funds were approved, those funds were reserved in our fund account to pay for that project. So any project that's already been funded, including the one today, as it moves forward, the funds are in the bank and ready to be spent. So no construction projects that have been funded will be delayed to completion.
Okay, and my final comment is more of a comment rather than a question, and I think possibly we're all in the same sense of understanding. I would approve the budget, but obviously subject to great reservation about the sales tax. The way we're looking at it here in the city, wow, I think it's optimistic what you've got in there, depending on rumors that are out there nationally about a recurrence and what's that. I mean, we've never experienced the shutdown in our lives in this country or in the history of the country. So knowing what that's going to do with us, what happens if we approve a budget but with reservation or some significant commentary about the sales tax?
Right, we understand that concern, and we feel like we have the tools necessary, the way we do business, to be able to adjust our expenditures as actual revenue comes in. While sales tax is shown high in the budget, it does give us the authority to expend that funding if it does become available. But if it doesn't, we have the tools available to us to adjust our expenditures as needed to make sure that we don't overspend what the resources that we're receiving. So we feel that there's flexibility in our program to adjust throughout the year, and we'll monitor the sales tax as it comes in. If it rebounds quickly, great. If it doesn't, we feel we have the tools available to us to adjust expenditures to accommodate that downturn.
And then,
thank you.
Ms. Goodman, I'd also like to add that we do have adequate controls in place to make sure that actual expenditures do not exceed actual resources as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the budget, Mayor March.
Motion on the floor. Let's take a roll call vote.
Councilman Anthony, vote please.
Yes.
Councilman Barone.
Yes.
Chairman Brown.
Yes.
Councilman Galt.
Yes.
Commissioner Gibson.
Yes.
Mayor Goodman.
Aye.
Vice Chair March.
Yes.
Mayor McManus.
Aye.
That is 8 ayes. Thank you.
And that motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to clarify, we want to make sure that that approval included the ability for us to approve this as the tentative budget as the final budget and submit, have the county submit to the state. Is that correct?
Yes. My motion reflected what was stated in the document here, the action to approve and moving forward to submit the budget to the state.
Okay, thank you. Item 13 is comments by the general public. Again, as noted in the agenda posting, comments by the general public regarding items on this agenda were to be posted to public comment at regionalflood.org. Ms. Hughes, please read into the record any public comments received.
There is no public comment.
Okay, that concludes our agenda. Mr. Chair, I just want to remind all the board members to remain logged into this meeting as you are now, so that you can start the RTC meeting, which will begin in about 5 minutes. With that, that concludes our agenda.
All right. Thank you, Steve, and thank you to the staff. This meeting is adjourned. We'll be back on in about 5 minutes.